Welcome back. This afternoon, you're listening to the Todd Laborowitz Show, Real Estate Radio on Salem Broadcast Network, WRC 1260 AM. I'm your host, Todd Laborowitz, and we're speaking with Jennie Lucca. And she is the Director of Resident Services and Program Operations with the Children's Inn at NIH. Well, welcome, Jennie.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Love having you here. And you're a graduate of Catholic University, CUA.
I am.
Okay, so you stayed local in the area.
I did. Well, I'm from Anchorage, Alaska, but I traveled here for graduate school and have stayed.
Wow, and never left?
Never left.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's a strong area to keep people.
It is. It's fabulous.
Well, we're glad to have you, and you're working with a great organization.
Thank you.
Now, the Children's Inn at the National Institute of Health is a residential place-like home for sick children and their families.
That's right.
Children come across the country and around the world to stay together with their families at the inn, healing environment while receiving groundbreaking medical treatments at NIH. It's also the world's leading biomedical research center. I know that's a lot of information, so walk me through how it works.
Absolutely. So exactly as you said, we are a private, not-for-profit place-like home for seriously ill children and their families who are undergoing medical treatment at the National Institutes of Health. So all of the kids who are staying with us are enrolled in medical research for the most serious forms of heart, lung, blood disorders, many forms of cancer, genetic diseases, mental illnesses, even undiagnosed diseases. And our role really is to reduce the burdens of illness that often result from having a seriously ill child. We like to say, while the NIH attends to the medical needs, we support the social and emotional needs of the family.
Which is very important. Well, NIH, I know, has its own zip code. They're huge.
They have their own fire department.
And their own fire department. And as far as NIH, it's all government funded. So your organization, the Children's Inn at NIH, has no government funding whatsoever, and all your donations come from the private sector.
Right. As a private nonprofit, we are responsible for raising the funds to operate the Children's Inn. So we really rely on the generosity of our community, the individuals and corporations that surround us to sustain our operating funds.
Okay. And your relationship with NIH is?
It's a public-private partnership. So we almost operate like contractors on the campus of the NIH.
Wow. I just never thought that, okay, have you ever tried to get government funding?
The government does support us in many ways. The NIH is very generous. They support our infrastructure. They help us with, they own our building, so they maintain much of our building. They help us with our phones, our computers, things like that. So it's a partnership, definitely. But as a contractor and as a 501(c), we are responsible for raising the funds.
Wow. And you do wonderful things. I mean, you're bringing in families, you're bringing in the children in need. It's very rare cases. And you're balancing out psychological and emotional for all the family members. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as when did it get established?
The Children's Inn opened its doors in 1990, and we are actually embarking this year. We've just kicked off our 25th anniversary celebration.
Wow. Congratulations, Jennie.
Thank you.
Now, as far as the Children's Inn at NIH, what is the need that it's filling?
Sure. So, the inn is a very special, unique place, and I think it's a mission that everyone can connect with. And I say that because the children and families, of course, come to the NIH for a hope, for a treatment for their illness. And sometimes they get that, and sadly, sometimes they don't. But what they're absolutely doing is contributing to this body of knowledge so that the next child that comes along has options for the same illness. And so they are really vital in advancing medical discoveries, and that's something I think everybody can connect with.
Wow. So they're making a big difference.
We like to think that.
Well, by the way, if you're just tuning in, I have with me Jennie Lucca, is the Director of Resident Services and Program Operations at the Children's Inn at NIH. I'm your host, Todd Laborowitz, and you're listening to Salem Broadcast Network, WRC 1260 AM. Now, Jenny, what kind of programs and services does the Inn provide for children and their families?
Well, as I mentioned in the beginning, our mission is to reduce the burdens of illness, and we do that by providing free lodging, and we also do that by providing a variety of educational, recreational, and therapeutic programs. And so that means we have a teacher on staff that helps kids maintain their schooling while they're there. We have tutoring. We have programs for caregivers. We have we have massage. We have arts and crafts and bingo. We take the families on field trips to sporting events, to museums. Our role is to distract them from everything they're going through at the hospital, and we do that very well.
How long do the families usually stay here?
The average length of stay is about 3 to 7 days, but of course some families are on long-term protocols. They might be having a bone marrow transplant or something like that, and so sometimes they're with us for many, many months.
And as far as the family, you're helping them while they're here, but they're walking away from their lives back at home.
Absolutely, and it's very difficult. There's financial impact, there's emotional impact. Sometimes the family is split because there's siblings that are still going to school. It's the most difficult time in their lives for these families, as you can imagine.
Wow. Can you give some scenarios of how the impact that you've created?
Absolutely. So we have, we have many kids who come to us. When you think about why kids come to us, often they've exhausted all of their options in their home states and their home countries. So they're really at the NIH and at the Children's Inn for that last hope. And that means that they've been in hospitals and medical treatments for most of their lives. So by the time they get to us, they've exhausted all of their financial means. They are emotionally drained, and we are there to pick them up and to help them along this journey. And it's a tough journey, but it's something that they're courageous. They're incredibly courageous families. And when you walk through the doors of the Inn, I'm sure as you're listening to me talk, it probably sounds like it's very sad. But as you walk through the doors of the Inn, it's this very hopeful, comforting place to be.
That's wonderful. Well, as far as people that are supporting the Inn, because it's not government funded, it's 100% funded by the private sector. For our listeners, like, how can they support the Inn? I see that you said they go to sporting events. Like, if someone has season tickets, they probably donate their stuff to the Inn. What type of donations do you take?
Thank you for asking that question. It's a great question. So there's many ways to get involved with the Inn, and the best way to learn about that is, of course, to go to our website, which is www.childrensinn.org, and you can immediately make a financial donation if that's something that you'd like to do. We also have a wish list, which lists all the items that families need right now. And I think right now families need food and toiletries and gift cards to local grocery stores like Giant. Then there's another area of the website that actually outlines all the opportunities for individuals, groups, and organizations. And it's anything from getting a group of your neighbors together to provide a dinner for the families to hosting a fundraiser to making little gifts for the kids. We have this little program called Thoughtful Treasures where every day a child gets a gift in their mailbox. And then also to the local listening community, we are always looking for restaurants and businesses that are willing to donate meals free of charge or at a deeply discounted rate. And you're right with the sporting events. They want to get out. You can imagine they've been at the hospital all day. They've had needles and tests. And so to get off campus, off the NIH campus, and go to sporting events, go to museums, and just be together as a family, it's incredibly important.
Are movie tickets included?
We would take movie tickets. They love to go to the movies. Absolutely.
Wow.
Bowling. I mean, anything you can think of that kids like to do. It's that normalcy. We're trying to get to the normalcy.
Wow. It's so wonderful. Now, let's go back to 25 years ago.
Okay.
And this getting started.
Yes.
How did this all come about?
Right. So the Inn opened its doors in 1990, but prior to that, at the time, there was a doctor who was noticing that, a doctor at NIH, Phil Pizzo, he noticed that families were eating out of vending machines, sleeping in the waiting rooms, and even when they had a hotel to go to, they tended to stay together because they learned that the mutual support was so important to getting through this. So many people came together to make the Inn a reality, and Merck donated the original dollars to build the building, and we opened in 1990. And then because of the need, we then expanded in 2004 and actually doubled our square footage. So we can now support up to 59 families at a time at the Children's Inn. Wow. We also have a house just outside campus called the Woodmont House where we can support an additional 5 to 7 families. And those families tend to be with us for a little bit longer, those that stay at the Woodmont House.
And in the houses and for the families when they come, they got wireless internet, they got TVs. Do they need to bring their own stroller? Do they have a car to get around? Is there shuttle services? How does all that work?
It's a great question. We try to do everything we can for our families. So they, no, they don't have to bring any of those items. We provide all of those items for it. They certainly can, but we are absolutely a full service. We want them to be able to focus on their child, and we will take care of everything else.
Perfect. Well, Jenny, how much does the inn cost?
There is no cost to families to stay at the inn, no matter how long they stay, and truly that's why we rely on the generosity of individuals and corporations for donations.
Is there a waiting list, or is it fill up? Is there a lottery? It's
a great question. Sometimes there is a waiting list, and that tends to be at the beginning of the week. We often do fill up, especially during the summer months as well. We don't like when that happens, of course, because kids want to stay with us, but we do our best to accommodate all the families that we can.
All right. Well, Jenny, what's the website for them to get in touch with you?
The website for the Children's Inn is www.childrensinn.org.
And they can make big donations. They can make small donations. If there's a child that wants to have their birthday gifts reverted to give the gift to the inn.
Absolutely. Yes. Most definitely.
All right. Well, Jennie Lucca, who's Director of Resident Services and Program Operations at the Children's Inn at NIH, go to the website again.
www.childrensinn.org.
Perfect. And you can learn more information there, and please help. It's a great organization, and it's definitely for a good cause for the children.